This podcast is powered by the pros at Paschal Air Plumbing and Electric. Arkansas owned, Arkansas operated. GoPaschal.com.
Roman, we had a conversation at Media Days a year or so ago, and we talked a little Matt Jones with you, our coworker, guy you had to play against back in the day. And the thing about Matt is he was 6'6", and he ran a 4.4. Arkansas's got a kid on campus that's 6'6", 6'7", not 4.4, but 4'6". Have you drawn any similarities between a guy you competed against and who Arkansas has a quarterback in Taylen Green?
I want to see more out of this guy because he clearly plays in a totally different system than Matt Jones, and so it's just really cool because he's put up real numbers. He's thrown real touchdowns and real stats at Boise State, and I'm looking forward to it. But he is really, really big. He maybe not be as fast as Matt Jones, but I love to see this offense, and I want to see what Bobby Petrino is going to do. And look, the word that keeps coming to my mind when I'm looking at Arkansas for coming into the season is desperation. And that's because, the outside anticipation of what's going to happen with such a great coach. But for me, it's all about the fan base and what are they feeling and what are they telling me by what questions that they ask, and also the perception that is reality until you change it. And so it's got to be desperation for me, and the most desperate team wins in football most of the time. So I don't think it's a bad thing when I use that term, because in my football mind, desperation is a great thing sometimes going into a game.
You mentioned Bobby Petrino there. I think a lot of Arkansas fans are excited to not only what he can see with Taylen Green and this offense. I know you didn't play against Bobby in the college game, but I would guess you maybe matched up with one or two of his offenses at some point in a short stint with the Falcons. What can you tell us?
You don't want to talk about that one.
Yeah.
You don't want to talk about it. I promise you. You don't want to talk about it.
With y'all being in the same division. But, Roman, maybe from the bird's eye view now of getting a chance to watch it in the analyst chair, what can you tell us about how difficult he makes it on opposing defenses?
Well, you can't deny that he's good. Every offense that he's ever been in control of has always put up really good numbers, and they've always been very effective. And he's been great in the college space. So it's just the other things that maybe some people may have a different opinion about him, but you can't actually deny as far as what he's done as a coach and what his play calling ability is. So that's what it's going to really come down to. And last year I thought Arkansas, the offensive coordinator, seemed like it just didn't fit at the end of the day. They took a huge step back. And I think at the end of the day, offensively, they'll be better. I think Travis Williams continues to build upon what I thought was a solid first year last year defensively. They looked a lot better. They had some really good, solid play. They're just thin in a lot of different areas, and that part still hasn't changed. But they do got some really good players in a couple different areas that I really, really like. And the other thing is the scheduling, which we all know really matters in the SEC, especially with Texas and Oklahoma coming in. Nobody's got an easy schedule, but the hardest parts of Arkansas' schedule, at least on paper, all those games are at home. So that does give you a chance. There's something to be smiling about.
And thank God we don't have to see your Crimson Tide this year. I mean, first time since they joined the league, I was, not going to lie, I was pretty happy about that. Roman Harper's with us, former Alabama safety, all-pro safety. I also want to talk about his golf game coming up. But, Roman, you mentioned Travis Williams there, T-Will. First year, they were good. I mean, look at what they did against the first half against a Heisman Trophy winner in Jaden Daniels. Look at what they did against Jalen Milroe in Tuscaloosa. They trailed off the end of the season. They got tired. They got gassed. The offense wasn't getting them any help. What are your expectations for him in year two?
I think they will continue to improve. Like I said, the thing that I liked about Travis Williams is that when I looked at him on defense, I knew what they were running. So, and defense doesn't have to be complicated. It can be very simple, but you got to play defense with certain couple of aspects. You got to have an edge on the defense. You got to have responsibilities. You got to play with toughness and a sense of urgency. And, you got to know who you are and what is your identity. And that's what Arkansas seemed to have last year. And that is what I do like, because I watch them. I'm like, okay, I get what they're trying to do. I get what they're trying to execute. And yes, offensively was a real struggle bus, and that kind of hindered their continued growth because they couldn't continue to put up numbers. Also talked about the lack of depth and explosiveness from certain players. So, but that's going to come with it. Arkansas has got to continue to build from within, but I really like what they're trying to build. And like I said, Arkansas could be one of those teams where, all right, offensively they're hitting on some strides that nobody really anticipates them doing. They got a 6'7" receiver. They got all these tall players. You got Luke Haas, who I really liked, who kind of came on last year as a young player for you guys as well. So these guys just got to continue to make plays. If Bobby Petrino's able to put them all together, and, that's what it's about. It's the unknown that we never know about. Everybody, every year, it's a team that kind of comes out through the SEC that's better than what people anticipate. And maybe not the greatest team, but they're still better, and they knock off teams, and it messes everything up and brings everybody else down and them back up a little bit in the SEC division ranks. Well, there are no more divisions, but within the ranks. So that's what I'm really looking forward to. I want to see if Arkansas is going to be that team because I really, really like the team. I love the fan base as I got to travel there, and it reminds me a lot of Alabama, just with way more hills. Way more.
It's a lot hillier in Fayetteville than it is Tuscaloosa. I can
way more.
I can testify to that. One of the other guys you competed against was C4, Cedric Cobbs, and I know you've been very complimentary of him. Arkansas had a great running game back in the day, Roman. They had one 2 years ago. Not as much as the last 2 years, not as consistent, I should say. You talk about controlling on defense. How important is it for Sam Pittman to kind of reestablish that offensive line and really control the offense from the line of scrimmage this year?
Well, I thought that was a big drop-off. It was not so much, there just were no holes to run to. And, Sam Pittman is a great offensive line coach. And so you anticipated them being better, being more consistent, and that's what they lost. And all of a sudden now everything else starts to trickle off after that. The offense felt differently last year, but they got to bounce back. They still got some big guys up there, and I want to trust Sam Pittman on that more than anything else because he is such a great offensive line coach. He's one of the better ones we have in the SEC. So he's got to get that thing sewed up because he knows if he doesn't have that, they don't have a chance. And if Arkansas doesn't do well this year, I mean, who's to say who's going to be the head coach there? And I'm not here to debate on that. I'm going to let the Arkansas people figure that out. I would be here to wonder about you guys. How do you feel about it? Because that's why I said desperation has got to be something we talk about.
Roman, tell me about Bama's new coach, Kalen DeBoer. Give me the inside scoop as a graduate of the University of Alabama. I'm expecting them to be good, not obviously what Nick Saban was, maybe 9 or 10 wins. What are you expecting of the Crimson Tide this fall?
Well, that is the expectation. If you don't get that, I think it's going to be a lot of disappointment. For me personally, I actually got to meet Kalen DeBoer. I like him as a person. I like him as a man. I think he's a great coach. I mean, the record you cannot deny. You don't win those type of games. Has been as successful as he's just an average guy. So he is a special coach. And but at the end of the day, I think the situation is what actually bothers me or worries me a little bit more than actually the coach. And that is replacing the GOAT. I don't think that's worked out in anybody's favor in any sport at any point in time in history. It's only been a few select times that's worked, and usually it's been a hire from within. And this is not a hire from within. This is I wouldn't say a complete rebuild, but, man, they brought in a lot of different coaches from a lot of different areas. But the positive things that you're seeing is the recruiting that you're hearing about that they're doing right now, which is the one big scare that everybody thought that Alabama was not going to be able to do under Kalen DeBoer was their hiring processes or their recruiting would not be as good because they're not used to the area. But you're hearing some really opposite opinions about that. And I think that has to do with a lot of things that, the coaching staff and the GM that he brought in and all these other things. So he's got these things figured out, and it's actually been pretty interesting to see and watch. But once again, they still got to go out there and prove it on the field because that's what it's all about. We can talk all preseason we want, but you still got to go out there and win ball games.
Chatting with Roman Harper, McClarty Daniel Hotline, former Alabama All-Pro safety. Roman, I think it's pretty consensus that Georgia's the best team in this league. I think the question becomes, who's number 2? Is it Ole Miss? Is it Texas? Is it LSU? Who do you maybe have as the number 2 team in the Southeastern Conference right now?
For me, I guess it's easy to say Texas, but for me, I'm not going to drink the Texas Kool-Aid. I need Texas to prove it on the field. Last year seemed like almost like a surprise, or not really a surprise, but they won games that we kind of didn't think that they would win, including the Alabama game. But then they went out there and lost to Oklahoma, and that's got to be who Texas is not anymore. They got 3 games on their schedule. You can talk about the Michigan game, but Texas, they should go up there and pretty much put it on this Michigan team. Last year was a loaded, older Michigan team. They're not that team anymore. This year they should go out there and do what they need to do. They got Oklahoma. They have Georgia at home, and then they got Texas A&M at Texas A&M late in the season. Other than that, Texas should be running their thing. So and when they win those games, then I'll be more excited about it. But for right now, I'm just, hey, these are my expectations of what you should be, including about what you bring back from last year. So that's what they need to do. So I'm not super excited. It's more than just like, I'm just waiting for you to just go out there and be the person you're supposed to be. They're a team with a whole bunch of potential, which to me is probably one of the worst compliments you can get in sports because that means you ain't done it yet. So, but that is what I see when I see Texas. Ole Miss is a team that Lane has found a way to try and make these guys competitive. And I think what Ole Miss has done and their success and the way Lane has done it is really put a lot more pressure on these other teams that have not always been known as the SEC powerhouse. But you see a team like Ole Miss who's really building up and really getting these things going, doing it a different way, and having a lot of success doing it. It puts a lot of pressure on the other, what people would consider mid-tier or that second-tier SEC team. Well, Ole Miss is up there now, and they're going to be up there for a little while, especially with Lane continuing to have the success that they have. But they got the quarterback. They got the best skill position groups in the SEC as a whole with all the receivers that they have, bringing in Juice Wells from South Carolina. Defensively, they got some NFL talent now for the first time, I would say. I told somebody earlier, this is the most NFL-ready roster I've ever seen at Ole Miss since I've seen Ole Miss, and I think in their history, honestly. So, and so Ole Miss would be a team to beat too. But, you know, their schedule's not as, I wouldn't say easy, because I don't think any schedule's easy in the SEC right now, but it's not as, you know, but they got to be, when you look at them on paper, they're supposed to win these games. And so you got to go out there and do what you got to do. They have Georgia at home, which would be a tough one. But one thing for Ole Miss is the same thing you said about Arkansas. They don't play Alabama for the first time in a long time, which has been their Achilles heel. So that gives you a chance right there alone. Like mentally, I don't have that block. It's like playing against your older brother. Like, I'm a better athlete than my older brother, but I've never beat him. So it's just weird.
And if you look at schedule-wise, I think Missouri might have the easiest of any Southeastern Conference team, at least on paper.
Agreed.
Agreed. We'll just have to see how it plays out. Ron, before we let you go.
But they lost a ton on defense, though, so we'll see how they go with that, though, you know?
And they lose Schrader as well on offense, so that's something to keep in mind for Eli Drinkwitz. All right, before we let you go, man, last time I saw you, you had your golf clubs on Sunday. We'll be in Dallas a couple weeks from now. You already got a tee time. How's the handicap looking?
Oh, bro, it's getting not good. But I am hitting the ball decent on the range, but it is off of mat, though. So, you know, that thing a lot to you sometimes. But today is going to be all about off the tee, man. If I'm landing the ball off the tee, I got a chance.
BetOnline is your #1 source for all your betting needs. Get the latest odds, lines, and matchup reports for baseball, boxing, golf, and more. BetOnline continues to be the fastest and easiest way to place your wagers, including live betting and your favorite casino and card games available to play right from your phone. Head to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today and get in on the action. Remember to use our promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, for your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet online, where the game starts.